When you hear the words traditional family farm, what comes to mind? For me, I envision wide open pastures where cows can enjoy life to the fullest. And this is exactly what I saw during our recent visit to Barrier Farms. Barrier Farms is a farm that has been in existence in our area since 1880. When we arrived, Tia, a sweet and bubbly modern-day cowgirl, was helping her husband Levi give feed to the cows. Traditionally, it was a common way of life for families to work together on farms and homesteads. And on this multi-generational farm, this is exactly what they do. They work together as a family. And here, Levi and Tia are working together to get the morning chores done. And Levi is the son of Landon, the chief operating farmer here at Barrier Farms, who's operated this farm for a number of years now. But we'll meet him in another video. For a number of years now, we have purchased our feed for our chickens and our ducks from Barrier Farms, and they grow all kind of grains. But I really didn't know until here recently, in the recent years, that they actually raise pigs and cows and chickens. So it was really neat to be able to see the cows that they're raising. Yeah. And you grow up knowing the Barriers.
Yeah, I've known the Barriers for a long time. I graduated with one of Landon's younger brothers.
And we've had the chance to tour around a number of farms and homesteads now, but they mostly grow vegetables. And some have fruit trees and things like that, but not many people that we have visited here recently raise livestock. So it's really neat to be able to go just right down the road and visit someone who is raising cattle.
Yeah, and local. I mean, it's local. They're less than 10 minutes down the road from us, so that's really neat too.
So local that I feel guilty about it, that we actually haven't had a chance to really go and visit and fully tour their farm until now. So really glad that we were able to do that. And after we watched them do the morning chores with the cows that are finishing up, I think that's how they call it, finishing up on grains.
They're finishing the cows.
After that, we went to the other pasture areas. You rode with Tia in an ATV, and I rode with Levi in an ATV. We didn't ride on horses, so we're more modern day cowboy and cowgirl we were dealing with there, so no horseback riding. I wish we would have been able to do that, but ATVs are super cool too. And we rode out to those other pastures. Let me tell you, it was just beautiful as we were going out to those open pastures. The cows were just coming across the landscape. It was absolutely beautiful. And your ATV was ahead of us, and we were, I don't know, maybe 100 yards or so behind.
We were coming across the pasture, and you see all of these cows just galloping toward you because they're so familiar with what the ATV means. And Tia and I get over there. Here comes this one cow as we're driving past, and she's running up, and it's just, she's so close. But it was such a Jurassic Park moment, like whenever the velociraptors were running up next to them, but it was a cow. Really, really funny, but a little intimidating too, to be honest. And so as we slowed down, we'd driven around the pasture a few times, and they had kind of stopped following us. And we slowed down to look at a new calf, and it was probably only a few days old. It was so cute and so curious. It came up to within about 3 feet of the ATV, and it was really adorable. But the mama cow, she was not having it. She's like, leave my baby alone.
And the cows were really just going crazy. It was just really kind of loud. So to get them to calm down so we could talk to Tia a little bit in the field, Levi brought some feed out just to kind of get them to be distracted and calm down and settle down. And once he did that, they did. And then we just had a little chat with Tia, and you could just tell she really enjoys being around the cows. So tell us a little bit about the cows that you guys are raising here.
So we do mostly black baldies, which is a cross between a Hereford bull and a Black Angus female. We do also have the black baldy females as well, and they're all the ones that have black bodies and then the white or white patterns on their faces. And we really like those because they get the nice weight on them that the Angus do, but then they also have the personality of the Hereford, which is super gentle, really nice. We do breed all year round. We don't do breeding seasons.
Okay.
Because of that, we get calves all year around, which is my favorite part. The calves stay with their mom until they're naturally weaned. Literally by the time we come in and catch calves, their moms have pretty much already weaned them off naturally. The only thing we do when we do separate them, to be positive that they're good and ready to go, they'll feed them a really small amount of grain. They'll feed them hay just to make sure their rumen has developed, you know, correctly, that they're good to go to be left alone for themselves, and then they'll just get moved to another pasture. The females mostly get sold at that point. We don't have a use for the females right now, and since they're related to our bulls, we can't use them as like replacement heifers or anything. So then we keep the boys, we steer them, we use those for our meat that we sell, or we sell them off at the sale. But so they stay out here with their moms till they're ready to go, or then they just get moved to a different pasture. And then these brood cows, they only get fed, they're only on pasture, grass fed, they get fed hay. In the winter, if it's like a particularly wet winter, like last year, and there isn't enough grass really to sustain them, sometimes we will feed them grain, but it's like a really small amount. We mostly just rely on hay at that point. They got some grain now, but that's just to keep them quiet while we're out here. And then that's pretty much it. None of our cows get regular shots. We don't give them any. A brood cow will, if she gets sick, we will give her antibiotics because it is our goal to keep her healthy and alive. None of the calves that we use for meat are ever given any shots.
So you guys raise a number of other animals here on the farm, but it looks like the cows have a little special place in your heart, do they?
They do. They're left over from even when Landon, like his grandfather and everything, they always had cows. They might not have had any other type of animal, but they always had cows. Be it dairy cows or a small herd of beef cows, there's always been cows on the farm. So, you know, we like keeping them around. They're special. And they're also really friendly. Levi will get annoyed at me sometimes because I'll call them dogs, and he says I get a bit too attached to them. But they're so sweet. Like, you pull up and they're running up to greet you. They don't mind if you pet them or mess with them. Sometimes that can be a little obnoxious, just because if we need to catch them or anything like that, they don't have much respect for your personal space. But they're really sweet. We really like having them around.
There we go. Now, were you raised on a farm at all growing up?
No, when I was 11, we moved out here to Mount Pleasant, about 3 minutes down the road, just a couple miles. We had like a hobby farm or a homestead, so I did grow up with gardening. We had a few cows, some goats, and chickens, but never this kind of farming. So, I'm a little new to that.
There we go. So how is it marrying into this way of life with your husband here?
I've always loved farming. That helps. But it's very rewarding. I really enjoy it. But it is definitely a culture shock. And it has its own set of struggles, but I think it's well worth it in the end.
There we go.
It's a good way of life.
So you wouldn't have it any other way?
No, I really enjoy it. I really do enjoy it.
It's so neat to see them in this natural environment of eating grass and all the different things that are out here for them to eat. But you guys do grain finish, and what is the mixture that you have?
So our steers, once we move them from the pasture, we do grain finish them. They're a little bit varying in age, but about a year old when they get moved to what we call the steer lot, which is the pasture, we call it a lot.
Okay.
And they get fed a mixture of ground corn cobs, so the kernel and the cob. And then it's got minerals added to it, and then they add roasted soybeans, ground roasted soybeans, to up the protein. And then they will add in oats as well, sometimes, not always. But that is pretty much all we feed for our steers. They like to grind the corn cobs because there's a lot of nutritional value that can kind of get mixed in the actual cob. It adds a lot of fiber to their diet, which cows really need, especially if they're kept on pasture.
Now with that extra fiber, does that help with preventing things like worms and things like that?
It does, but also it just helps keep, honestly, from them from getting diarrhea. That's the main thing. That's often why, even if you'll see cows on like this beautiful lush pasture, normally the farmer is still feeding hay because that's the roughage fiber that they need to make sure their bowel movements stay normal.
All right. So overall, this was a really, really neat experience, and I feel bad that the kids didn't get to be able to see it firsthand, but it's so neat to see one of the farmers that we support and buy meat from, were the story behind that meat that we buy. And I encourage you all to find local farmers in your area that you can begin purchasing from, and that way you can visit them and know the story behind that food.
But make sure you ask if you can come to the farm first, because
don't just randomly show up.
People just show up, and farmers are busy people, if you didn't know that. So make sure that maybe they have a farm day where you can come and visit and they'll show you around, but don't just surprise them. Ask them first. Yeah, but you can learn so much, and for us it was really neat to be able to see, one, the methods and how they're raising these cows, but also to see the heart behind it, especially with Tia. You could just tell she was just bubbling up with energy and enthusiasm as she was telling us about these cows, and that means a lot. That shows that they're not just doing this to do this, but their heart is behind what they're doing. And Levi, he was right there, and once he got talking about his cows, he really started opening up, and it was really interesting and educational for us because we've never had any large animals, on how they transition the calves from after they're weaned into you know, moving them to another pasture and making sure their rumen is developed. It was really interesting to hear him talk about that.
After we move the small calves into the lot, we'll feed them oats mainly. We don't feed them anything but oats and hay. Oats is the easiest on their stomach to process and to start developing all their rumen and everything. All the other grains, like wheat, you can't feed wheat to any cows. It makes them bloat too much. The oats is the easiest on their stomach to help develop it. And then most of the time we'll try to steer them, and that's only because it helps them prioritize not going to look at the ladies at the edge of the fence and want to spend their time over there and just lay around a little bit more and help bulk up their body. After that, they took us over to their farm storehouse where Tia showed us a number of the meats that they offer to their customers.
So we keep all of our freezers in this shed, in this room, and in the next room. We keep most of our beef in here, and then most of our chicken in the other room. Our beef actually gets processed locally, about 10 miles down the road, which is super cool. We're really blessed with that. We can also harvest our pigs there if we want to, but our chickens we have to take to South Carolina. That's a little town called King Street. It's the closest poultry processing plant to us, so it's a bit of a drive. It makes it a little bit more expensive, but they're super great, really wonderful. But yeah, all of these freezers hold all of our beef. This one specifically is our ground beef freezer, and it's all packaged at Cruises. Looks really nice, but that's where we get all of our beef done.
The different meat products that you guys offer, who all do you sell to?
We mostly just sell to what I would call an individual customer. We do have a CSA type of order. We just call it our weekly farm order. It's a collection of meats that I kind of put together. We pair it with local produce that we get from other farms. Sometimes we get it from the Dixons as well. It also comes with a dozen eggs each time, but then we just sell it by the cut. I mean, I get everything back. You know, like there's 2 steaks in a pack, and you know, I get it all cut up individually like you would from the grocery store. So a lot of my customers just call me, they place their order, they come and pick up. It's just individual families. I currently sell out that way, so I don't sell to any restaurants. I don't sell to any stores. It's just direct to the family that's going to consume it.
Great. And for any of you who may want to purchase some meat from them, we can provide their information in the show notes below, so make sure you check on that. When we first started selling some produce, some people, they're not really used to buying from farms, and some people may feel like there's some concerns about buying directly from the farm. What would you say about that?
I would say there's two different things. Mostly is that people don't understand why I don't have large quantities of inventory, because they do kind of think that it's just like buying from a grocery store. Unfortunately, it's not. I've yet to figure out how to get a cow fully back in ribeye steaks. Once I do, I'm gonna be a millionaire. But so it definitely has to teach people a little bit more about eating differently. Not everything is available to them at once. And then concerns sometimes that they have is that they're worried that it could not be processed right. One of my favorites is when they get a piece of meat that actually has the inspection stamp on it. So at all meat processing facilities, you know, the state inspector is there all the time, and he stamps each individual animal once it's hanging, and it's a vegetable dye, you can eat it, but it lets you know that your meat passed inspection, it's safe to eat. And I get people all the time that they'll want to return it, or they'll send me a picture of it, and they'll be like, I don't know what's in my meat, what's in here, and I'm like, oh, that's a good thing that it's there. So I get that, but then honestly, not too much. A lot of people do like coming out and seeing how we raise the animals. I think there's a lot of kind of false advertising, maybe even like some greenwashing over people are used to seeing on social media. So we try to be as honest as we can, and then just invite people to come out and see for themselves. And that normally takes care of most of their concerns. And then all their other concerns are about how it was processed. And normally those can be easily taken care of, since it's a USDA and FDA approved facility. It's all inspected and good.
So there you go. They meet the standards. And for those of you who are concerned about buying from small farms, go and visit those farms. You'll actually know more of the story of where your food comes by actually visiting the farms that you're purchasing from, more than you're going to know the story behind the food that you're going to buy at the grocery store. So we really believe in what these guys are doing, and encourage you all to keep doing what you're doing. And it's truly an honor to be able to share the work that you do on a daily basis, you and your family, and keep it up, keep it all up.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty, so this was just so much fun, and I definitely want to encourage all of you who are watching this video to get out there, meet farmers, see what they're doing. Even if you don't necessarily have a diet that pertains to the way that they farm, you can still learn so much from the different methods and techniques that everybody uses. Don't get stuck on one particular way of doing things. There's so many different contexts, and there's so many different ways of doing things that you can just learn so much. So make sure you stay tuned for an upcoming vlog where we're going to be chatting with Landon about the grains and different things that they grow on Barrier Farm. So I look forward to that, so make sure you stay tuned for that. He's also going to be talking a little bit to share with you the difference between non-GMO and organic. So a little learning lesson coming up for you there. Well, that's it for this vlog. Hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed spending time with the cows, so much so I want to go see them again. And one day I really want to have cattle or some type of animal that can just be in wide open pasture. So that's one of my future goals to expand our farm. So hopefully we can make it happen. Well, that's it for today. Hope you the best and wish you the best as always. And be strong and grow on.